Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today we're going to talk about brake pads, at least looking at them once they've been removed from the car, because they can tell you a story of what's going on with your brakes. Here's a set here that were removed, and there's a few things you want to look for. One, you want to look for them head to head to see if they're wearing evenly. If one pad has a lot more meat on it than the other, then that can indicate a few things that we'll go over. Brake caliper can be hanging up, and I've had that happen before, and you'll notice that you'll be able to squeeze the caliper as you're doing these repairs and kind of see how easy they go in and out. And as you compress the piston back in, you'll see if there's any problems there. If it's a dual piston or a single piston, okay, a lot of those things will tell you if you have uneven wear on these. These ones, for example, look really good. They're pretty much worn down evenly if you're looking at it from the top. They have about the same amount of wear on each side, so that looks really good. Also, as you're looking at the lines of here, we're seeing the lines from the rotor, and it's just a nice consistent one. We're not seeing any breakup or any problems there. We also are seeing that these have not been worn down to the rivets. A lot of times you'll see the rivets on the backside showing through and get a horrible squeaking. These ones had actually a wear bar type thing here. So this little bracket comes up. And so you can see as the pad wears down, once it's even with that bracket, it'll make noise. And so that alerts you that there's a problem. You'll go have your brakes checked, and so that's saving you. You can see that you still have some meat on here left, so it wasn't completely dangerous yet. However, this can destroy your rotor, and then you may need to buy new rotors as well. Whereas typically you can go one or two times with just new pads and then get new rotors after that. Something to bring up more on the Mustang, and this was also a comment on one of my other videos, is some of the brake clips on the Mustang will actually do this. Instead of this being built into the caliper, it's built into the actual clip to the point where when it wears down, something like this little finger here starts to drag and make make a noise. So it'd be kind of the same thing. It's just built into the clip instead of actually riveted onto the actual brake caliper. So when you buy a pair of brakes, a lot of times it'll show you right here the things to look for. So the wear pattern, if it's tapered, wear vertically or horizontally, then the problem could be worn out caliper bushings or a worn out caliper. Okay. The wear pattern, this is kind of what I was talking about. This happened on one of my cars. If only one side is worn down in the pair, the caliper or the caliper piston may be hanging up. And so you can see one side's definitely more thick than the other. This one, if you start to see these grooves in the surface, then that's usually the rotors need to be turned. So you've basically warped the rotor from the heat, and so now as the brake pads are applied and as it squeezes in, each of these are squeezing in against the rotor, and they're kind of moving around because the rotor itself is no longer smooth. So that's a term. To have the brakes turned means you have the rotors removed and they put them on a lathe type machine and it smooths them out until they're smooth again. Cracked lining or chipped corners on friction material. So that's excessive heat buildup. A caliper or caliper piston hanging up for creating constant friction. So that's like your brakes are dragging. Rear brakes ineffective, causing front pads to do all the braking basically. And I would imagine you'd also, if you've left your emergency brake on, you might see something like that. If it's worn all the way down past the rivets, that's what we mentioned a little earlier, then you know that you've gone too far. If you have a step in lining, so you can see that little ledge on the top, the pads were not installed correctly. They're not getting full contact with the rotor, so they're basically wearing down at the top. So anyway, this is normal wear here. As you can see, it's even on both sides. Everything looks good, and that's what we're getting here. So very happy to see that, and it's just a good idea to look these things over when you have your brakes done if you replace them. And I have some videos on doing brakes on both the Mustang, our Yukon Denali, and also our G35, some others. So I'll put the links to those in the video description if you're interested in seeing those. But it's just kind of some basics for looking at the actual brake pads once you remove them, because they'll tell you a story of what's going on. So anyway, put in the comments anything else you'd like to add to this video, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments as well. Thanks for watching.